Hello and welcome to the Eurowhat, episode number 79 for the week of March 2nd, 2020. I'm Mike McComb, and I'm joined today by Ben Smith. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Mike.
We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. And this week, we'll be talking about Songageddon 2020.
Mike, to quote the German 2019 entry by Sisters, I'm tired.
Oh, so very tired. Man, this is such a crazy week. I've lost count of how many things have dropped in, the last 5 days?
Yeah,
6 days? Something like
somewhere
that?
in there. That sounds about right.
Yeah, we should probably just, dive right in, because there's a lot to talk about, and we
there's
don't
a
want
lot,
this to be, a 3-hour episode, so...
let's just go fast and loose and cover all of the things that happened, because so much happened.
So many, all of the things. Anyway, the first one that dropped... Well, we'll go kind of day by day, because, the craziness started on Thursday and just kept rolling downhill and getting faster. So, the first entry to come through, which actually kind of leaked on Wednesday, but officially was announced on Thursday, was the United Kingdom's entry, My Last Breath by James Newman.
If we were deep sea divers, and no one came to find us, if you had nothing left, I'd give you my last breath.
So as you may recall, over the summer, we did our Big Five gut rehab project, where we just kind of talked about how each of the Big Five countries could try to fix some things and maybe have a better shot on the scoreboard. Not so much Italy, because they've been doing fine, but the other 4 countries could use a little bit of a boost. And when we talked about the UK, we had Helen Grutois, who is living in London right now, on the show to kind of offer a more local perspective on how Eurovision's perceived.
and also lovingly yell at the UK for half an hour.
Yeah. And she sent in this piece with her thoughts on the UK's entry.
Hi guys, it's Helen, and I just wanted to follow up on the UK entry after our discussion last summer. So, as we all now know, the UK is sending James Newman with his debut solo single, My Last Breath. I think that this is a great introduction to him as an artist. It's very driving and anthemic, and I think it's differentiated itself from some of the other sad boy ballads we've gotten this season. I think that there is a palpable amount of care that has been put into the song, and it definitely shows. The songwriters are James, who has himself written hits for his brother John, as well as acts like Rudimental and Little Mix. The songwriting team also consists of Ed Druitt, Adam Argyle, and Ian James, who between them have written tracks for countless major acts, including One Direction and Ed Sheeran, and this track wouldn't be out of place on 1B's later albums, in my opinion. And Ian co-wrote Azerbaijan's winning entry in 2011, so we do have some Eurovision pedigree here. Do I think that this song has a chance of winning the contest entirely? Not really. I think Lithuania is still my personal frontrunner at the moment, but I do think that there is some great staging potential with this song, and I could see it coming left-hand side of the scoreboard if we hit the right beats. I think BMG will be able to back this song like a record label should, but I am concerned about the BBC's role in this, as the launch itself was quite underwhelming. It did premiere on BBC Radio 1's Breakfast Show and on Ken Bruce's show on Radio 2, which ordinarily would be a huge deal and a huge honor, but the Radio 1 coverage was very middling, with casual watchers of the contest giving their immediate and, in my opinion, uninformed reaction on the air. This is not helped by a live launch in a tiny conference room with bad acoustics later on in the day. The British press has also been very, very brutal and vitriolic, and unfairly in my opinion, and the press also has a very outdated and in some ways pretty offensive idea of what the contest is, and the BBC has not stepped up to James's defense almost at all here. Even if the powers that be don't like the song, they should still be promoting it outside of the fandom on things like the BBC's Live Lounge on Radio 1 or the Graham Norton Show. I think those are huge platforms and not at all out of place with a song that should be doing well not only in the contest but on the charts in the UK. And they should be backing it all the way. I mean, look at what France has been doing this year. Do I wish that we could have had a girl group banger or something out of the UK's grime scene? Yes. Do I think that this particular song is bad? No. This does fit right in with the other songs that surrounded it on The Breakfast Show, and I would also compare it to the material of someone like Niall Horan or Lewis Capaldi. So while I don't think that the song is perfect, I do think that it is a step in the right direction. I think BMG and James have been doing their best. I think he has a good stage presence and is genuinely excited to represent his country, and I do recommend listening to his interview with Ken Bruce. But the public opinion of the contest is unfortunately shaped by what they hear from the media in the UK, and if the BBC wants this opinion to change at all, they are really going to have to step up and do their part as the participating broadcaster. How do you expect the rest of Europe to get behind this song if it appears that you won't? All that said, I am very excited to support James and his entry, and I wish the best of luck to him in Rotterdam. And even if he doesn't win, and the chances are unlikely there, I do hope that he will be able to help change the conversation about the UK in the contest. Thanks for having me back, guys, and I look forward to discussing the contest further with you in the future. Bye!
I think Helen hit a lot of the points that I wanted to hit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just like hit all of my talking points as well. I think that with this new UK BMG partnership, I think this is a good first step. Do I think it's going to win? No. Do I think it's like a step in the right direction? Yes.
I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic. I'm trying to avoid doing the whole bright siding thing that the UK does every year with every one of their entries.
Just somehow I get sucked in every year, be like, this is the year they've figured it out, they're taking it seriously again, and then they release a song. I'm like, oh no.
What I'm most concerned about is the staging for this, because I could see them doing the exact same staging that they've done every year since 2016. And it's just my advice to the UK right now: no golden curtains. Do not put a deposit down on them. No sparkly showers. None of that. Like, get out of that headspace with the staging. Do something new.
I just want to get a spray bottle and like find out whoever's staging this, and just like the second that they start clicking on like a website for pyrotechnics, just like spritzing them in the face.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Get off the pyrotechnic drapes.
No. But yeah. Well, no, and like I don't want to like go down they figured it out, they're taking it seriously this year, because just from what Helen said, it feels like there's still kind of business as usual at the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they partner with BMG feels like a good step. And if you think about the Dutch about a decade ago, they were sending Shaila Lee, and that was a real dark point. And they switched it around, and Birds by Anouk did well, but certainly didn't win. And like year by year, they kept finding a talent pool with internal selection, and they turned it around with their hosting this year. Do I think that we're going to see the same thing from the UK? Probably not.
Yeah.
And like one thing I like about this is that the song is just over 2.5 minutes. They didn't feel like they needed to tack on like an extra big chorus or like another key change.
Right. Gospel choir in the background or anything like that.
One thing I've liked seeing in the reactions to this has been a nice level of critical thinking about what it means to be the UK at Eurovision. Like The Independent had like a really lovely article about that, and like why this is a step in the right direction. And then Ellie Chalkley over at ESC Insight had this really lovely article just sort of going through the various sort of 12 talking points that you're going to hear in the UK right now and why they're not true. Because we talk about like the Big Five and the Big Five contributing a lot of the money. The amount the BBC spends on Eurovision is about half as much as they spend on one episode of Strictly Come Dancing.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is to quote her, is an astonishingly good value for the money.
Wow.
We can throw that in the show notes.
So along with the UK announcing on Thursday, Germany announced their artist and song, and they announced Ben Dolic with his song Violent Thing.
'Cause if I got you with me tonight, feeling like I'm feeling tonight, don't tell your mama, ooh, you're such a violent thing. Ooh, you're such a violent thing.
Ben is Slovenian by birth. He was a semifinalist on Slovenia's Got Talent and competed in Emma 2016 as part of the group D-Base. But more recently, he was a runner-up on Germany's version of The Voice in 2018. So that's kind of how he's gotten into Germany's good graces right now with the Eurovision scene. And this song's co-written by Borislav Milanov, who's part of the Symphonics Collective, who's been working with Bulgaria and a handful of other countries the last few years. So if this style sounds familiar, that is why. Ben, what do you think of this track?
Well, I just love how many of this year's boys have like a secret boy band past from like from like a selection, and just like every time, like you just watching the B-roll package, although we didn't get one for Ben Dolic, but just how on every other national selection we've gotten like a quick shot of 5 years ago the artist being in a boy band and having terrible hair, just like uniformly terrible hair across the board. I like that Germany has sort of regrouped and been like, you know what, we should send a fun song this year. When I saw the titled Violent Thing, this was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I don't know what I was expecting, but certainly wasn't expecting like dance pop. Yeah. So my first listen was on the music video that 15 seconds in, I was just, I hate this. But I think it was like, I hated the music video and not necessarily the song. Like when I listened to the song in isolation, it's like, this is actually kind of a bop. And at the official reveal, there was an acoustic performance of the song, and Ben's got a good voice, and like it was a good live performance. And I think the acoustic version works just as well as the studio version. And yeah, I think the song has some potential. Yeah,
I kind of want to see how I feel about it in a few weeks once we have the full lineup. I was just very pleased that we're getting like another kind of up-tempo fun song, because it feels like we've been in just sort of ballad territory lately.
Yeah. Although my big disappointment is with Germany making this announcement, that means all 6 of the auto qualifiers this year are boys. Yeah. So try harder next year, auto qualifiers. Thanks.
And then also on Thursday, Azerbaijan has announced their entry, and they are sending not a boy. They are sending Samira Efendi. She has tried to represent Azerbaijan before, like she was in the mix in 2014. She's finished 3rd in The Voice of Azerbaijan, and she's participated in various other singing competitions there. One thing that excites me is that a lot of her music is not in English. That said, we have no clue when they're going to drop the song. Probably soon.
Better be soon.
Things are due next Monday.
Yeah, clock is ticking. But there are a couple of her tracks on Spotify, and one of the songs kind of reminds me of Armenia's entry from like about 10 years ago, which that seemed weird. But yeah, like overall, I'm excited to hear what Azerbaijan's doing. Like they know how to play the Eurovision game. So that was all just Thursday. Moving on to Friday, Belarus had their national final. It was a pretty straightforward show, 12 songs competing, jury and televote, all of that. The winner of that was Val with the song Davidna. So the thing about this particular song, Belarus's broadcaster is a commercial broadcaster, so like they would have ads running during the national final, and one of the ads, I don't recall what it was advertising, but it was using Davidna like as the song in the ad, so it was kind of like Bloomberg ads playing during the Democratic debates. It was really weird from like a fairness standpoint, but it's fine. The song that I really wanted to talk about was Chakra's La Le La. So I knew going into the final that the song was written in honor of the cat of the song's composer who like died unexpectedly. And I did not hear the song ahead of the performance, so I didn't know really what to expect about that. We will have a link to the video in the show notes because I have been following Eurovision since 2010, and I cannot think of a performance that was as bonkers as this one was. Ben, did you get a chance to see the video?
I did, and like you put it in the show notes and just said that it was a song written in honor of the composer's cat, and as someone who did not get to watch Belarus on Friday, was just like, well, this is probably going to be very cat-heavy theming, and then watching was like, this is not that at all. And there's so much going on, and there's like a person that's kind of dressed like a cat, like maybe from like the Belarus company of the production of Cats, but
yes,
it was also just not what I expected for a song written in honor of a cat.
it reminded me of one of the origin stories in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, where like the three goddesses are coming together and there's like fire and ice and like everything exploded. Like it was just so Avatar, The Last Airbender. Like it was just
these are all very good references for what I saw.
Yeah, and I mean it's and like the song didn't have like lyric. I mean, there were words to it, but it's just kind of more intoning rather than like an actual lyrical story being told.
Yep.
It was fascinating, and I'm kind of sad that Belarus didn't go with this. Like like I said, like David Naz, it's an okay song. I think
it's an okay song. It kind of reminds, like at least the staging kind of reminds me of bits and pieces of Slovenia's entry last year, just because there's one person who has a keyboard on stage with the other person singing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This was just a visual. I don't want to call it a masterpiece because it was just so WTF, but we're probably not going to be able to do a Ones That Got Away episode this season, but this would definitely be on that list.
This would be your selection for that.
Yeah, like when we do for the decade in 2030 or whatever, this would probably still be on that list. Like this was
just truly a sight to see.
Absolutely. That was kind of an intense way to go into what was going to be a very intense weekend. So
yes. Like, how did you prepare for Saturday, Mike? Because my response to, well, I'm going to be sitting down and watching at least 7 hours of Eurovision content was to just go buy charcuterie for myself and the people who are going to be watching with me, just to make my home a welcoming space for like, hello, yes, we are going to be watching things in multiple languages. I know none of them. Just trust me on this.
Yeah, my snack game was not as on point as yours was, and that was a major failing on my part. I was not prepared. But speaking of snacks,
I never imagined the power. I never imagined the need. I never imagined what love is. Now love is all I dream. How wonderful was the awakening. Now everything is a surprise. Painted in sounds in your breathing.
Uku Suviste was named Estonia's Sexiest Man in 2010.
I don't see it. I don't know like how that would be the case.
Well, you know how People magazine sometimes you're like, yes, this makes a lot of sense, and sometimes you're like, well, someone's publicist deserves a raise. That could be one of those things.
I was on his Instagram like pretty much the rest of Saturday, just like putting marriage proposals in the comments. So he is quite a handsome bloke. But
yeah, amongst his bona fides, he did the New Wave, the one music contest that we really should pay more attention to since more and more Eurovision people come out of it in 2010. He finished third there. He was a semifinalist on Russia's version of The Voice in 2018. He was the runner-up in last year's Estilau, and I believe he was one of my picks for Ones That Got Away last year. Mm-hmm. What was kind of a weird American connection is that the jury for Estonia's selection this year included a guy from Berkeley, right in my backyard, where Uku studied in the mid-2000s.
I preferred last year's song that Uku had to this one.
Yes.
Yeah, like
well, and also just like watching the staging for it after the fact, because I ended up switching over to a couple different things before Estonia finished its process. That was kind of long. Was just like watching it for the first time and just immediately having my brain produce the drill tweet where it's like, candles, $3,500. Someone please tell me how to budget. My family is dying. Because there were so many candles on stage.
Oh, so many.
Just candles. And like every time that the camera switched positions, there was like a new over-the-top element. Because first it was just like, hello, here's 1,000 candles. And now suddenly the stage is full of fog. And now in the background, just big, large light-up letters reading love.
Mm-hmm. They were going all out. I mean, the Dream Team is behind this entry, which probably shouldn't come as a surprise. Yeah, so...
just a fun little thread running through today's episode, just me shaking my fist at Philip Kirkorov.
I think the thing that bugs me most about this is when the songs dropped like December 1st for Estonia, like that's how long this process has been going on. The video for this song was first on the playlist. So this has been like the longest process imaginable. Like,
Estonia, please no.
Yeah. But and especially because like Uku had the televote locked up like so completely. Like he had, before they went into the super final, because Estonia's voting system's really kind of weird with Istilau, but he had like a 10,000 vote lead going into the super final. And then once the super final was done, he had like 4 times the televotes as the next song. So it's like, okay, why did this take so long? It's just like, maybe next year just do internal. I don't know.
Yeah, Estonia, if you wanted to send Uku Suviste, you could have just sent Uku Suviste.
Yeah, send him and Marcus Riva, and then I know Marcus Riva's Latvian, but it's the same thing. So
I just like that. Just like 1 year, the EBU comes together and says, "Okay, we're going to look through our records and find the person who has applied the most, and this year is their year."
Or make a boy band. Oh no! Oh no!
Just like as a fun interval act.
Yeah. The also-rans. It could be like Danny Saucedo.
They do not get to perform in competition, but they do get to perform as a supergroup all at once.
Yes.
Do they have to be singing the same song at the same time? No, they can all do their song now.
Yeah, as long as one of them just has awful hair. Mm-hmm. Along with Estonia, there was Moldova, and yeah, I was not able to get a stream to work.
It was a process on Saturday because I went to the official Moldovan broadcaster and was just watching the little circle redraw itself and be like, well, this is going to work at some point, won't it? And then you sent me a link to a Facebook, and I went to Facebook, and it was like watching a series of animated GIFs because it was just real bad. And then finally, I think I ended up on a Twitch stream.
Oh, geez.
And that was giving me half decent coverage. So watch like a handful of entries from there, and then it was time to switch over to something else. The ones I watched, I was just like, is everything okay in Moldova? Because they have 20 things in here, and they could have cut that field down by half.
And that was the one that I think started with like 39 or so songs auditioning, and then they're just like, oh yeah, we're just going to cut the field down to 20. It's like, you could be more thorough in your cutting.
Yes,
but...
yeah. Well, and I came in on like a performance where I was not sure if it was like a tourism thing or an actual entrant. And it turned out it was just like a tourism thing or just like an interval act.
Okay.
But because has it been 3 minutes, or because it's either been like only 30 seconds or it's been forever?
Yeah. With some of those songs, it's very difficult to tell.
It's very difficult.
Just bend space and time.
It was like a flavor of Eurovision I have been missing. Of like, did I like any of the things that I watched while I was watching Moldova? No. Was I having a great time because so much was happening? Absolutely.
Yeah. There was always something to look at, even if it was just like
too many
firing
things.
off to spice. Right, exactly. The person who did end up winning Moldova's selection was Natalia Gordienko with the song Prison.
Kirkorov.
Yeah, it's another one, but
we could have had Fun Wedding Moldova, and instead we get Sad Ballad Moldova for a second year in a row.
Yeah, and calling it Prison is maybe not the best marketing,
especially because I felt tortured.
Yeah, well, because also like I just kept on picturing Sergei Lazarev singing "Scream" last year, and he's like in his glass case of emotion or something. It's like, oh, just play the audio of Prison over that, and it would probably be the exact same effect. But
and also the when I did finally get around to watching the thing that won, because I apparently watched 4 things downstream from that and came nowhere close near watching that just because, again, the stream was very bad.
Yeah. And I think she was like very early in the lineup too.
Yeah, she was number 2 in the lineup, which,
okay,
hey.
Yeah.
The curse is broken because Kirkorov. Anyways, I just remember seeing the 6 light up chairs and being like, are we going to get like Cell Block Tango? Because that would be fun. But no.
Oh, I would love to see Moldova's interpretation of that.
I would absolutely.
Natalia, just a little bit of her background. She was part of a group that represented Moldova in 2006, which I believe would have been their 2nd or 3rd entry in the contest. And they finished 20th out of 24 in the grand final. So she does have experience qualifying and competing at the Eurovision stage. And she's another one who came out of the New Wave contest. She won the 2007 New Wave. So yeah, she's got some chops. curious to see how this song shapes up over the next couple of months.
Yes.
It's not my favorite, and it's definitely of the rending of garments side of the Dream Team that, but
I second that notion. I'm just like, oh, this is fine.
Yeah. Speaking of fine, I don't know.
Speaking of fine, yeah. No, so Croatia, a fun story about Croatia is that I had to sign up to watch their player. And my email, hopefully, was like, we notice that this email is in Croatian. Emails that go to your account are not normally in Croatian. We think this is spam.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I did, in fact, give Croatia my email address so I could watch their national broadcaster.
Yeah.
And I tuned in, and I didn't dislike that Dora had not released anything beforehand because it was like a fun surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was like a nice cognitive dissonance between the B-roll footage of the contestants, which had like 3 or 4 different setups in the studio where it's like, okay, we're gonna put you against a background and then wheel a dolly backwards, and then we're gonna stick you on the dolly and wheel you back. You know, just like look like you're having fun, and then all of the songs I listened to were very serious.
Okay.
So just sort of a weird disconnect there. It was nice to see that Roko is still very into Angels.
Okay.
At least because like there was a lot of like intro stuff. Like I had to switch over to Iceland at 2:45, so I only got like a couple of Croatian entries before I had to duck out. But also just got like a lot of intro and just got like the full reprise experience of here is our song from last year.
Okay. Yeah, how was that performance? I wasn't able to watch any of Croatia.
It was a good one. Like I still really liked that song, and I liked what they did with it in the end, and it was kind of sad that didn't go through.
Yeah. And I mean, he's a good singer. I'm hoping that we see Roko again.
Yeah, he's a good singer. I would not mind him coming back. What did win is Damir Kedžo's Divlji vjetre.
Divlji vjetre, tu na moj prag, uvelo lišće donesi mir, I kišu neka ostavi trag, tuge u bojama jeseni, a činilo se zauvijek smo.
Some fun facts here. He tried out for Dora 2011, which was the last time the contest was held until they brought it back last year. In a very popular trend of this episode, he won the New Wave in 2015.
Huh.
And then he is also the winner of a show called Your Face Sounds Familiar, which is the #1 show in Croatia, similar to how The Masked Singer is the #1 show here.
Yay.
It is. So Your Face Sounds Familiar is a popular format in lots of other countries. They tried it here as Sing Your Face Off, and it did not do well here. It turns out that when we want famous people to sing at us, we do not want to see their faces.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes it's just the right timing for a format. Like I was just reading an article over the weekend about choose your own adventure books. And apparently those got, because there's like no real technology behind them, they got pitched in like the 60s and people said no. They got pitched again in the 70s and everyone was like, this is brilliant. You're a genius.
Huh.
And it's just like, you know what? Sometimes it just has to be the right cultural place.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's talk about Divlji vjetre.
I like the song in the sense of like this feels very Croatia.
That is my main note as well. That this feels like this is what Croatia tends to send.
Yeah, like my husband, like after listening to the song, he's just like, oh, it's just another case, because he had opinions about last year's entry, and he's like, oh, it's another case of a really good singer with a really bad song. And I was listening to it, and it's like, I don't think it's a bad song so much as I think it is a very formal song, but this year's contest is a very informal contest. Like,
yes.
I think of like how 2017 in Kyiv, like that was a very formal contest, and that's part of the reason why Portugal won, was because that was a very formal entry, and just like taking the song contest aspect very seriously. Whereas this year we have like half a dozen entries with like their own audience participation choreography. Like you're not going to get that at like an operatic competition. Mm-hmm. So I think this may just be a case of good song, wrong year. I don't know. Like, I mean,
yeah,
I haven't had enough time to sit with it. But.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because fast forwarding ahead to Sunday, just watching Serbia's stuff, they brought back Molitva as part of their various intervals. And it's like, this is still such a good song. It's so tied to that year for me. Whereas I said it last week where it's like, I would like something fun to win. Mm-hmm. Like there are years where I'm like, yes, I want the big dramatic thing to win, but this year I would like something fun. This is a very nice song, but yeah, it's not quite there. But yes,
Yeah.
Can we please talk about the next thing?
Yes, Iceland was what everybody was talking about. Like, that seemed to be Twitter's main focus on Saturday, and Iceland did not disappoint.
They did not. Yeah, there were a few technical difficulties along the way, but that was a very fun show to watch. And like, I really like the main pair of hosts that Iceland has had the last couple years, because they strike the right blend of doing stuff to keep the show moving and being willing to just kind of be very goofy and fun. Because like, they opened with a version of Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. And I think they opened with something based off of Shallow and A Star Is Born last year, so clearly just pulling from the current musical movie.
Okay.
Du jour.
Okay,
like, this
that
year
makes
Rocket
sense.
Man is sort of on everyone's mind still. I have no clue what the global release strategy for that one is.
Yeah, that seems like one that would be bigger in Europe than it was here.
Yeah, but it was very nice. They started having technical difficulties leading into the super finals, but before we get there, 5 performances. The amount of different acts that Iceland had to choose from this year was really great to see. Like, they really had. I can't really say that they didn't have any bad ones in the bunch, because I strongly disliked one of the songs in the mix.
Oh,
but
really?
there was just my partner and I were like actively rooting against Echo.
Yeah.
That one is one where like I didn't like it in the Icelandic, and it was somehow a step down in the English. But you had Dima doing hard rock. You had Meet Me Halfway, which feels like it was kind of just plucked out of like Frozen 3. You have Daði Freyr and company, and you have Oculus Videre, which I thought that Oculus Videre really improved their staging. Like, that had been like my one reservation about it. But I was like, okay, cool. This is definitely a battle between Think About Things and Oculus Videre. And then the super final votes came back, and it was definitely Think About Things. I'm like, okay, cool. I've nailed it. Let's get to the battle. And then it was Dima. And I have my theory about this, because Dima was the winner of semifinal 1, I believe. My thinking is the extremely online contingent of the vote was primarily looking at Eva going into this. And then Daði Freyr happened, and we saw how delightful that performance was. So I think some of Eva's vote defected to that. I have no proof for any of this, by the way, but I think the people who wanted to vote for Dima are going to vote for Dima.
That was the sense that I was getting too, because it seems like they have a very devoted fan following, and this might have just been a case of it was the wrong year to be in the contest. Like, if they were to come back next year, they've got a leg up on the competition.
Well, yeah, like the numbers are finally out, and like in the second semifinal, Eva and Daði were separated by less than 300 votes. So It was very close for those top 2 slots. In the final, everybody performs. We have Daði and Dima, and then there's just like what clearly seems to be like the in-ear monitor not matching the backing track playing during Dathi's performance. He actually gets stopped. Everybody's clearly off by a beat. They're doing their best, but just like, oh man, I was actively getting worried. I was just like, oh man, is he going to have a bum performance, and is this going to be it?
The thing for me was just like, oh no, it's the exact same thing that happened to Hatari at the grand final. Because they also had, I think it was in the second verse of Hatri Munsigra, but where like it was a beat or two ahead of the music, and it was like, oh no. And like they were eventually able to get back on track, but like they were really getting thrown off on Saturday.
Yeah, and I was glad that they stopped it, and they took a second to make sure that microphones were working properly, because it like after the fact, I was looking at Ruv and Vizier over the weekend, and it looks like one of the microphones for Oculus Videre wasn't working for a backing singer.
Oh no.
During that performance, and like Ruv was just like, yeah, we've apologized to Eva. That was also super close, because Eva versus Dima to the super final, there were 217 votes between the jury and televote that was swung at one way or the other.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's really tight. That said, I'm super happy that Daði Freyr is the entrant this year. This seems like we talked about it last week, where like I really want to see them, because Hatari had like a heck of a glow up between their final performance and what they presented in Tel Aviv. I would love to see what this team does. And there's just something that seems so charming and just normal about everybody in the band, and they're just having the time of their life doing this.
I can't wait to know. What do you think about this? Believe me, I will always be there, so tell me anything and I'll listen. I might even know what to say.
I'm very curious to see how the media presentation happens over the next couple of months, especially because like right now it seems their tact is to dispel all of the Netflix conspiracy theories that have been kind of in the background of the Iceland process this year. Although I do have to say, like after Saturday's marathon of Eurovision stuff, my husband was just like, "Oh, do you want to watch something?" And it's just like, but yeah, it was like, "Oh, let me see what's on Netflix." And there was Mike Birbiglia's latest comedy special, the new one. It's like, okay, I can handle somebody talking to me. I don't know if I can actually look at anything right now. And I did not realize that like the main story of that was about like the birth of his child, and it just seemed very on theme with Think About Things. And yeah, I mean, if this was Netflix's end game to get me to watch the latest Mike Birbiglia special, mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
It's a good special. You should check it out. So
I will give it to, again, like as soon as the super final vote was revealed, I was like, oh no, they're going to screw it up. Even though I did this exact same thing last year where I'm like, oh no, they're going to screw this up and not send Hatari. I don't know. Like, loved the Hatari performance. It just felt like a nice capper on just the most insane year for that band. Like, this is the one time where I was just very happy to see a children's choir reprise of the winning song from the previous year.
Yeah, that was deployed so magnificently.
So well. And again, like, I was just on the edge of my seat the entire time, just going, oh no, they're gonna send Dima, which on one hand I love that Iceland kind of follows the beat of their own drummer. On the other hand, it's like this type of hard rock never does well at the grand final.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, you have to completely recalibrate your like Icelandic expectations. And it's like, okay, like, all right, let's try to bright side it. Like,
let's
be
try
UK
to
about
let's
this.
ease into this. Let's ease into this. But yeah, no, I'm so excited. I'm kicking myself for not purchasing a sweatshirt beforehand because they're just gone. So that finished, and by the time that finished, it's time to watch Sweden and see who got through. Ani Stone Demina won his duel. Felix Sandman won his duel. Paul Ray beat out Malu in their duel. And Mendez and Alvo Estrella won their duel to close things out. They round out our complement of 12. Mike, what are your thoughts on this lineup? Who do you want to win? Who do you think will win?
Oh, well, yeah, it's a lot. There are a lot more boys in it than I was hoping for.
It was
so
all boys, just boys on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed that Malu didn't advance, but again, like as we had said previously, like it's not her best work.
I was sad she didn't go through. I was delighted to wake up on Saturday morning and see an Instagram video of her and her dancer from that doing the Think About Things dance.
Yes, yeah, like she is a big fan of that because I saw a video of her doing that like before Melfest and then like at the Melfest after party.
At the after party, yeah. Everybody loves the dance.
Yes, but I'm really pulling for Anna Bergendahl on this one, which kind of surprises me because like I try not to, like I don't necessarily want the Eurovision alumni to go when there are other people who like haven't had a chance to go yet, but I really like Kingdom Come. I could just see that like as a song that you could be belting at karaoke, that it's like rocking out in the car. Like it's such a solid track.
It is a very solid track. It has a big place in my playlist this week for exactly the reasons you mentioned. It's really good and anthemic. And like, yes, she is a former Eurovision alumni, but she also has like a really good storyline of, oh yeah, she's the only Swedish person like who didn't go through to the grand final. And like that performance feels like just like like the Grammys always has like one very nice kind of urban country staging that's pretty good. That just felt like a really good Grammy Awards country song, like borderline like Carrie Underwood sort of a deal like that.
I think that's maybe why I'm responding so strongly to it.
Okay. I would love for it to be Anna Bergendahl. I would also accept Dotter's Bulletproof. Like that song has also grown on me in the last few days.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I get kind of annoyed with Bulletproof as just like a song analogy. I blame Titanium. Like, I think Titanium has just ruined a number of words for music, for like pop music for like the next 15 years. So,
well, I like that this version of Bulletproof sort of flips the previous version of a song called Bulletproof is La Ruse, and I like that La Ruse is like, this time I'll be bulletproof, and the whole point of this song is I'm not bulletproof.
Mm-hmm. And she's doing the cool lights effect thing. Although Moldova's also using that sort of laser beam turning into like a handheld disco ball, what have you thing. So, yeah, Moldova may be like stealing a little bit of Sweden's thunder there if Dora ends up taking this. But
one that surprisingly has grown on me, talking in my sleep, although I agree with you, Mike, that I could see a female singer doing that well, but like I also really like his interpretation of it.
Yeah, and I'm a little embarrassed. I had been looking up writers of songs in the last week, and he is one of the writers on this song, so maybe he does have a little bit more ownership on it than than I mentioned in last week's episode. But yeah, it's all right. Like it's like, I feel like the middle of this field is very middling, and so there's not really like. There's my top 3, and then like 4 through 9 are all kind of
are just there.
Tied. Yeah.
Like, so I remember really liking the Mamas' Move first week.
Mm-hmm.
And then like by the time we got to it now, I'm just like, this feels really plastic in a bad way. It's trying to like mash together 2 different metaphors and 2 different songs. And I think there are just stronger things in the field.
Yeah. And like, I was doing a listen through today of all the tracks in the running order. And yeah, when Robin Benson's song, Take a Chance came up, I was just like, oh, is this new? And it's like, oh, wait, no, this was like, was it the very first song of the very first heat? Or
no, that was the Mamas, but it was also in that heat.
Okay, yeah, but it was just like, it was just so early on. And I was like, oh, is this new? And then like listening to it, it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of fine. It's a little repetitive. And like, yeah, it just, plasticky does sound kind of, right? I don't know.
Mahomby's Winners was the one that just immediately departed my brain the second it was done.
Yeah, do not look up the lyrics of this one. Like, it's just baffling. Like you were talking last week or the week before about Poland's entry just being like a series of cliches just barely held together to make a song. Yeah, Winners is the winner of that competition. So, yeah, Anna Bergendal's who I'm pulling for, and she's in slot 11, so I feel like that's...
She's in slot 11, Boys with Emotions is in slot 10, so those seem to be the favorites by the producers.
And I am so worried that
Sweden Send a Woman 2020.
Yeah, it's just... My thing with Boys with Emotions... I think the studio track is fine. Like, it's not something that I would seek out, but I can understand why other people would really, really like it. I am so underwhelmed by the live performances. Like, I think it's just a song that's not designed to be performed live. Like, it just sounds like a mumbled mess.
The thing for me is that it sounds like a song that the boy band that pops up from time to time in Bob's Burgers should be singing as a joke.
Yeah.
It's like that, or that, or like a Big Mouth. But no, I think Bob's Burgers just because that way Louise can like slap the one singer. I cannot, just because it is so devoid of nuance. It is just so... I can't even make words.
It would be peak Sweden to send that. And yeah. I have so many emotions right now. So.
Yeah, I am filled with emotions.
Yes. So, yeah, and then I guess also with Andra Chansen, they did a Hall of Fame thing?
Yes. Yeah. So one thing I did not realize... and perhaps was ill-advised in saving Sweden for last, was that a large portion of it, like, so there were the performances up front, and those all happened, and I was like, well, surely we're just going to get, like, little pieces of results sprinkled throughout the rest of the show. Why is there an hour left? And it turns out it's because they've been doing all of these sort of Melfest Hall of Fame things, and they had a bunch of performances. I'm sure they were lovely performances. I saw notes about a lot of them on Twitter, and I probably should go back, because there's some, there was, like, Alcazar, there were a lot of sort of historical... like people who basically, are you still around? Would you like to perform your song?
Right.
By that point, I was just very tired and I just wanted to know who was going through. So I was fast forwarding a bunch and I was stopping because I saw Loreen. I was like, okay, cool. Loreen's going to perform Euphoria, which she kind of did. But she also just sort of mashed up Euphoria and My Heart Is Refusing Me and Statements into a new song called Fiction Feels Good.
Okay.
And I respect what she's doing as an artist, but I also would have liked a medley. Her costume was very cool.
Okay.
But anyways, so got through that, was like, okay, I just need to see who wins so I can then just like sit in my apartment with low lights and not look at anything for like a couple hours until SNL is on.
Good. I'm glad I wasn't the only one who was completely screened out on Saturday.
I do not usually get that way, and yet I was.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
with that in mind, how was Portugal, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Because along with the screens, it's just like, oh, I can sort of understand what's being said, too. So it's just like my pidgin Portuguese is like coming through to be like, oh, no, I can actually sort of keep track of what's going on. The second semifinal was fine. Like you, I was pretty burnt out by that point. The music just kind of washed over me, rather than me like being fully engaged in the process. But yeah, 8 songs performed, 4 of them advanced, as they do. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really solid final on Saturday. Yeah, they released the running order this afternoon, and they put Barbara Tinoco and Passepartout as the last to perform. So it's like, all right, that seems like a thumb on the scale, but in a good way. And Eliza's Medoji Censure is performing 7th out of 8. So yeah, it seems like the producers have a pretty good sense of who they want to have battle it out. But really, I don't think there's a dud in the bunch. So it should be a really good show. And as the last competition that is happening this Eurovision season, yeah, it's gonna be a good one to wrap up on. So looking forward to that.
Nice. So that was Saturday.
Yeah, and there's still Sunday to go through. Like 3 more songs dropped.
3 more songs.
Yeah.
Greece and Stefania dropped Supergirl. I've watched the video for the song twice now. Mm-hmm. I'm very excited about this new Netflix series. I will definitely watch at least 1.5 episodes of it before just getting tired of it.
No, you have to watch the first 7, and then you
have to watch the first 7, so then it really gets good.
I'm not in love with the song, but I'm in love with the potential that this performance could have. Like it's kind of, I think it's kind of putting me in the same spot that Belarus's entry last year, Like It, put me in, where it's just like, all right, it's just kind of a very basic pop song, but with a good stage performance, which I thought Belarus had. I know I'm kind of in the minority on that one, but I thought they earned their spot in the final last year. But yeah, like I think there's a lot of potential, particularly if they can pull like a Kate Miller-Heidke type performance with the Supergirl framework. And like, if they're able to do something impressive for the live audience, I think this is going to do really well. If they're just going to rely on camera angles and on-screen graphics, I think it's going to flop.
I was joking about the Netflix thing, but this feels like a freeform series. Like the song felt kind of junior to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It felt very junior, and I'm just not sure. Just looking at the field we have so far, I agree with you that the live performance is good. It could do it. On the other hand, I think this has a lot of potential to flop.
The thing is, Greece is in the second semifinal.
Oh yeah, that
feels like
that helps
more
them
of a
out,
wild card.
Like if they were in the first semifinal, I've been like, nope.
The fact that this could be like up against like Samantha Tina and Iceland and Serbia, which we'll get to in a moment. Oh man, we've really got to get to tickets for the second semifinal.
Yes,
that is going to be the.
I have set up alerts
show
on my phone for like the resale market, because I'm just like, I need to be doing the dance in the arena.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, because it's like, oh no, some of these might not make it to Saturday, and then what will we do? So.
Yeah. I tried to get into Romania because I was like, okay, cool. It's one artist. It's 5 songs. How long could this take? As it turns out, very long. Very long. Which, great for them. I'm glad that all of the songs are getting their full staging appeal. On the other hand, I was tired.
Yeah. And I mean, it's unusual for there to be Eurovision stuff on a Sunday anyway. So it's just like kind of out of the normal rhythm. And I mean, there's not a lot of variation between the 5 songs. Which makes sense because it's the same artist performing all 5 songs. The one that ended up winning for Roxen was Alcohol You.
Alcohol you when I'm drunk. I do it 'cause you're not around. This pain's the only thing that I can't refuse. You hurt me, but I think it's only fake news.
And it kind of felt like she was willing that one to win based on some of the other performances. I was only able to watch the first hour of the show. I had an appointment on Sunday, and Cherry Red, which seemed to be everybody's favorite, like it had the most streams on Spotify. The audience was chanting for it. Roxen, she is the opposite of #1 fan of that song. Like it really seemed like she was just like, please don't make me sing this song.
Let's see. So there was the first song of the night, and like I was like, oh, this is the Billie Eilish influence. And then there was the performance for that one, which I caught online because I had swapped over to Serbia by then. And was like, oh, now I see the Dua Lipa influence because she's not dancing. She's just standing there.
Right.
I need to sit down and listen to this one a few more times because by the time that she got around to performing Alcohol You, I had already switched over to Serbia. I'm still not sure Romania is on the right track yet, but we'll see how I will see how I feel about this in a few weeks once I've had some actual digestion time.
Well, first of all, it took me I did not realize that Alcohol You was a pun.
It took me until listening through the song for the 3rd time.
Yeah.
In like the last 30 seconds to go, oh.
I mean, that's kind of one of my hangups where it's like, okay, English is my first language and I didn't pick up on the pun. I'm curious to see how that's going to work in a, like, where English is not the first language for a lot of folks. And then just like the lyrics, including like the phrase fake news. It's like, okay.
Oh yeah, that my brain just immediately shut down. Immediately shut down.
Yeah. So if they're able to get a revamp done, maybe like a lyrics pass or something in the next 6 days, please try to fast track that. But like I think like the actual singing on the track and like the song structure works. I'm just not sure if the content is 100% there, but it's a lot to digest. So
yeah. And then Serbia also happened, and like again, like my brain was just hitting Eurovision breaking point of
overload,
just like I actively watched it. I was like, information was coming in, but was not being processed because like all of a sudden I was like, oh, we're at the recap.
Yeah. Well, didn't the show start with like an Italian disco number or something?
Yeah. Well, we were doing like various Serbian songs of years past, and there was like a fun Euro disco moment. We're like, yes, this is what I want. Like, why aren't more people doing Italo disco songs? Well, Ben, because it's not 1983. Yeah. It's not 1983, and we have better synthesizers now.
I wasn't able to watch the final, but I was able to watch the semifinals, and there are a lot of jams in this year's field, which was kind of nice because like usually Serbia kind of does what Croatia does, where it can be very formal and very of a particular style. And it seems like they were being much more pop oriented this time around.
Weirdly, I was kind of looking for that out of their selection. And maybe I'm just like primed for like within the Balkans looking for that because they're very good at it.
Yes.
And again, like, because again, Molitva was one of their intervals. I'm like, this is a beautiful song.
Yeah.
But instead we got Hurricane and Hasta la Vista. There was a very Charlie's Angels vibe about this in that they're spies, but everyone knows that they're spies, but they're also pop stars.
I would so watch that show.
I would absolutely watch that show.
Wait, actually, isn't that Josie and the Pussycat? No, I guess they weren't spies, but yeah, like this song is just so over the top, and it's definitely going to like the Pussycat Dolls place, and it's definitely standing out in this year's field. Like I really don't think that there's a song that kind of steps to this the way
no. Like it feels like what nations were sending like a decade ago. Like I feel like there were more of these then, and we just haven't had one in a while, which is why it's so confusing.
Yeah, because like, was the last girl group Ogene? I feel there had to have been a girl
Maybe
group between them. Oh, man.
But yeah, just like I am still not sure if I like it, but it's definitely a thing that is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it has been stuck in my head all day.
It has not been in mine, but like in fairness, my brain, like just to like one thing I forgot to mention with UK is like the UK song is like very much in the wheelhouse of like what Spotify would serve up to me. And like to the point that like since Thursday, my brain has been every so often just popping up with "If we were deep sea divers," and it's like brain, not now.
Yeah.
Brain, we need to do a spreadsheet now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Hasta la Vista is what Spotify would serve up to me, but I own my truth.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's and it's certainly like fan favorite. Like Twitter's been rooting for this one for a while.
Yes. Twitter has wanted that one, so I'm very glad that we got multiple things that we wanted this weekend between that and Think About Things.
Yeah. So it's going to be a party. So that's something to look forward to.
Yes. And speaking of a party to look forward to, the news keeps dropping because earlier today, Russia out of nowhere, and honestly, we should have been looking for this one, Mike. Russia has announced their act, and it's Little Big, who is the first act this season where I've been like, oh, I know who that is, because they are a punk pop rave band who had the song Skibbity kind of go viral on YouTube last year, and apparently they have a follow-up song called I'm Okay that's doing very well with the TikTok, which I refuse to engage with.
When the news came out about this, it was just like, I have no idea who these people are, but everybody else seemed to. I think this was just a meme that skipped past me or just was not in my circle. What's their story?
If you were kind of afraid to get into D'Antwoord because they were kind of spooky and I don't know, just kind of a little too outre for you, Little Big is here, slightly friendlier. Sort of like what would happen if you had D'Antwoord mixed with LMFAO, I'd say. Okay.
Yeah. See, like I am only familiar with D'Antwoord with a video that went around a few years ago of like mashed up with Teletubbies of their song I Think You're Freaky, and it's like, oh, this is very on brand for me, but I've not checked out the rest of their catalog, but yeah, like when I saw the D'Antwoord connection, it's like, oh, now it's starting to make sense.
I'm kind of happy that since Moldova is not going to be giving me the sort of wedding party brass that I love out of that region, that it feels like Russia is stepping in to do this. And one thing that occurred to me when I saw this announcement is that on one hand, every nation's selection is its own beautiful thing that happens in a bubble away from everybody else. Like people are not watching it, what other countries are serving up like we are. They're kind of doing these things in their own little hermetic chambers.
Right.
But I also wonder for the nations that are doing national selections and have money to throw around, like Russia, if they're like, welp, we've got like the weird fun party band, and we've got a male soloist because we see a lot of boys right now, and we have like a female soloist just in case we want to set ourselves apart.
Right.
And like this weekend happened, and they're like, welp, Serbia's sending Hasta la Vista, Lithuania sent the Roop a few weeks ago, Iceland has a big fun party dance thing. We would like to get in on that, please.
Yeah.
And push the big red button marked Little Big.
Yeah. The little big red button. There we go.
Yes.
No word yet on when their song is dropping. Although I guess there was a snippet of it floating around. I don't know. Like with Russia, it's always just randomness.
But just like speaking of TikTok, Russia, TikTok.
Yeah.
Give us the song.
Georgia is giving us the song. In fact, they're giving it to us probably about an hour or so after we're done recording this episode.
Hour and a half. So
yeah, and
we get the fun European experience of going, please, Georgia, it's a school night.
That will be live by the time this episode goes up. Also, Israel is having their song selection contest on Tuesday. There are 4 songs that Eden will be performing, and it's a I believe it's a combination of audience and jury vote on those 4 tracks. And yeah, whichever one of those wins will be Israel's song for Eurovision. And that will be known by the time this episode goes live. So we will be talking about that in next week's episode.
Yes. And then just looking ahead to the week ahead. Wednesday, we are getting drops from Netherlands and Switzerland. Thursday, we are finally getting to hear Austria's Alive. And then Ireland is debuting their act and song. Friday, anything can happen, but nothing is scheduled.
Yes.
Saturday, Bulgaria is releasing their song. Denmark is having their selection. Finland is having their selection. Sweden is having their selection. Portugal is having their selection. Everybody is having their selection.
Yay!
Sunday, again, anything goes. 1 song, 7 songs somehow, who knows?
Yeah. Revamps of all 41 entries. I probably shouldn't joke
Since
about
it's
that.
his last year, Jan Olason has decided that Lithuania can send 3 entries.
Yeah.
Because nothing matters anymore.
Yeah. Oh, which 3 though? Oh, my heart is already breaking.
Yep. Yeah, and then finally,
alligator.
Monday, everybody's homework is due.
Yes.
By Monday, we will have heard Cyprus's song. We will have heard Malta's song. We will have heard North Macedonia's song, You. And San Marino will presumably have told us that the robots from a couple years ago will be representing their nation. I'm so excited for them. They worked so hard at holding the sign 2 years ago.
You really hated those robots.
Give us Valentina San Marino. It's what the people demand.
Valentina Serhat collab would be awesome. Oh, that would, yeah. I don't know if that's in the cards for us, but
with our luck, we will not get Valentina. We will get her duet partner from the last time she was there.
Hey, he's from Detroit, so
he's from Detroit, but
yeah, we need
San
that
Marinese
connection.
person wrote his song, so it counts.
Yeah. A lot of craziness this past week, a lot of craziness coming up. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Euro What. Thank you for listening. The Euro What podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
That's me.
You can find us on our website at eurowhat.com and on Twitter and Instagram at Eurowhat. We'd love to hear your comments, questions, and topics we should talk about in future episodes. You can subscribe to the Euro What on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcast app of your choice. Be sure to check out our Spotify playlist inspired by this episode. We'll be back next week to try to make sense of what's new in Eurovision.